What's going on? Welcome to the Quick Start webinar. Coach Noah here. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome. This is the Quick Start webinar brought to you by the Private Money Club. We do this webinar every single Thursday at 1 o'clock. So if you're tuning in for the first time, what's going on? Welcome. I see some familiar names. I also see some new names. So it's good to see a little bit of both. What's up, Carrie, Curtis? If this is your first time, it is interactive. We try to make this as interactive as possible. Like Private Money Club is a platform where borrowers and lenders can meet. So anytime we have an opportunity to just say hi, make a connection, build a relationship, whatever, go ahead and do that, right? So in the chat box, say hi, say where you're from. I always have a co-pilot with me, either Nick or Jose. And today we've got Nick Lucas. There he is saying hi to everyone. So Nick is part of the PMC team. He's part of the Private Money Club. And any questions that you have that I might not be able to get to, or if I'm teaching and on a good run in my mouth, Nick will be able to answer any questions you guys might have about whatever it is, Private Money Club wise, right? So it's good to have you here, Nick. What's up? Good to see you. Oh, we got someone tuning in from the Dominican Republic. All right, little jelly there. Coach Noah here. For those of you who are logging on for the first time, my name is Noah Harris. I'm a real estate investor out of Columbia, South Carolina. Buy houses, fix them up, sell them, rental properties, things like that. And I am part of the Private Money Club team. Been working with the Private Money Club team for a little over a year now as one of their coaches. And this is the 46th time that we've done this quick start webinar. That is awesome. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some ideas for the 50th webinar. Nick, I feel like we should do something special. I don't know what it is. I'm open to ideas. This webinar here is brought to you by the Private Money Club, and it's all about staying sharp. It's all about practicing. I don't know when the opportunity is going to come. If you have a deal and you need funding, I don't know when the opportunity is going to come where you're going to meet your next private money lender. But we got to stay sharp. So when we have these conversations with folks, when we have elevator pitches, we got to make sure that we know what to say it, how to present deals, things like this to help us get our deals funded. On the flip side of that, if you're someone on the call and you're like, oh, I'm not necessarily a real estate investor, but I love the idea of putting my money to work at a nice double-digit rate of return and having it secured by real estate that's worth much more. I'm thinking about lending. Well, the same thing applies, right? How are you presenting yourself when the opportunity comes, when you've got an excellent borrower in front of you that you could tap into and start building a relationship with, right? So it's a two-way street. We teach both sides of the coin on this call. We teach perspectives from the borrower's perspective. We teach a perspective from the lender's perspective. And, we just try to get better. I saw this cool thing on Facebook recently, yesterday. It was like, one of those memes or whatever. And it talked about the importance of the fishermen when they can't go out and fish, like when the weather's bad or whatever, when they've got some downtime. They never have downtime. They're working on their tools. They're sharpening their hooks. They're working on their boats. They're fixing their nets or whatever, right? It was a really good lesson. I was like, you know what? That's a really good idea. Like in between deals, just because, if you have a property under contract, 2 or 3 going right now or whatever, right? Maybe they're in renovation phase. We're still working on getting better at becoming the absolute best borrower that we can be and the absolute best lender that we can be, right? I don't know. I just thought that was super cool, right? So this is welcome to the Quick Start webinar. You guys are catching the vibe. This is what we're all about. So let's dive into it. It's 101. Every single time that I teach a webinar for the Private Money Club, William has deals. I just love William. You are turning into one of my favorite people, my man, because this guy is always putting himself out there and he's always saying, hey, here's my number. I've got opportunities. And you want to talk about someone who leverages the platform to really go out there and meet people and build relationships that can help one another. William Nadal seems to be, a really good example of that. So what's up? Shout out to William and everybody else that's on the call. So anytime that I teach one of these webinars, you guys know this, if you've been on the call before, I always stress how risky business can be. Real estate investing there's so much to it. If you're on this call right now and you're a real estate investor, I can tell you right now, you know what I'm talking about. There's always something that happens. Nothing ever goes perfect. So, I might share with you a case study today or say, hey, this is what I got going on. This is what I did. Just know that it's never going to go exactly how it went for me as it will for you, and vice versa, right? Each real estate deal is unique. And lending in itself, you guys, if you're thinking about funding real estate deals, we got to know what we're doing, right? A big reason why I like teaching this topic is because I believe in it. Number one, I would be nowhere without my private money lenders. I've almost used private money lending exclusively for my fix and flip deals over the last 11 years. So I'm a big believer in it. But I've also had friends who lent on other people's deals and they lost money, or they were about to lose money, or the person it was supposed to borrow the funds for a certain time and they were way over with no communication. And I'd have people reach out to me and say, hey, is there anything I can do? I would ask them, hey, did you get this document signed before you wired the funds and did the deal? And they're like, I only got one of those four things done. Okay. Well, did you think to ask this question, this question, this question, so you can learn about the deal, learn about the person that's managing the project that you're lending to? I didn't think to ask these questions, Noah. Right. So I realize there's a huge need for education around this topic so that it's done the right way. And when Chris Naugle and Stephen Nagy asked me to teach this quick start webinar, I asked Stephen, hey, what's the goal? And they just said, educate, 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 educate. And that's what we do. Right. So we're in for a treat, right? This is what we're doing. We're learning. So just to give you a little preview, this is what we're going to get into today. Just a little sneak peek here, but I'm going to share with you kind of an outline that I used when presenting deals. So new year, new me, new year, new you, right? What are you working on in your business to get better? What are you doing? So one of the things that I worked on this week was revamping a lot of my slides so that when I present opportunities to my lenders on the Private Money Club site or on one of the webinars that Private Money Club hosts for people to present their deals, it's fresh, right? So these are, yeah. So so someone said kind of like a pitch deck, kind of. One of the things you could call it like that. I don't necessarily like the word pitch deck when it comes to things like this. I guess for lack of a better term, it gets thrown around a lot. But I truly believe that I don't necessarily have to pitch anything. I truly believe that the opportunities that I present are win-win, and there should be a line around the building of people wanting to fund our deals, right? And so that's kind of the mindset we go into it, explaining who we are, our team, our market, things like this. So we're going to get into this today. But before we do, let's see who we got. If you're just logging on for the first time, welcome. My name is Coach Noah Harris. I'm with the Private Money Club. I've got Nick Lucas in the chat box as well, also with the Private Money Club. I teach a course called the Accelerator Program for PMC. We've been doing it for a little over a year now, and it's been an absolute blast. If you've taken my Accelerator course, just type in the chat box Accelerator or just raise your hand. I see a lot of your familiar names, but I just love seeing you guys pop up and seeing your successes and seeing how everything's going for y'all, which is awesome. I'm in Columbia, South Carolina. Most of our deals are 15 minutes from our house. Lots of times we're big believers in investing where we live. We do have deals that we've done in North Carolina, Virginia, Florida, areas like that, but most of the stuff's right. We're here where we live. 100% track record is not just something that I strive for within our company, my wife and I's company, but also something that I strive for within each and every one of you, right? I don't care how many deals you've done or anything like that. What I care about most is a person's track record. So if we've had any interaction, be it the Quick Start webinar, the Accelerator class, maybe we've met at one of the Private Money Club live events. The goal here is to be able to borrow funds and pay it back. And the goal is to be able to lend funds confidently and be able to get those funds back and do it over and over and over and over again. That's what we work on every single week here, right? Private lending, we always look at the assets. We always look at the house. We always want to underwrite and evaluate and say, okay, like worst case scenario, if this person doesn't pay me back, I'm going to foreclose on this property. Do I want to own this? right? So we're always going to look at the assets, right? We always want to make sure we're lending here and the asset's worth this, right? That's what makes private money lending great. But at the same time, who we lend to, who we are as borrowers, or who we decide to work with in regards to lenders, a lot of that is relationship based. So if you're on this call and your goal is to get access to more funding, to fund more deals for your real estate investing business, or to put more money to work at nice double-digit rates of returns, then my advice to every single one is to start building relationships, right? If you don't have a list of people that you've had really good conversations with, you've built relationships with, that you can pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I've got a deal. That's what we need to work on, right? And the Private Money Club platform allows people to do that, right? So that's a little bit about us and what we got going on. Let's dive into it. At any given point in time, if you have questions, we do have an accelerator course that we're starting January 27th. So if you would like some help expediting the process, learning things as quickly as possible of how to be a better lender, how to be a better borrower, I would highly recommend taking the accelerator class. And there's a link right there where you can sign up or learn more about it. You can give Nick a call. That's their phone number there. Or you can just go to Private Money Club, have a call with one of the team members, and they can help you get enrolled into this, that, or the other. All right. Every single week we practice. Here's the game plan for these calls. So I'm going to go over this because we got a lot of new people on the call right now. Number one, we always start on time. If you're borrowing money and you don't start things on time, what type of subconscious messaging are you sending to people, right? That maybe you're a little late. You don't want to be late. This is a private money lending webinar. We got to make sure we're on time, right? Just like we send our interest checks on time. So we always kick things off right at 1 o'clock. We keep it real estate. Inside Private Money Club, there's probably all different kinds of opportunities for people that are presented. Like, I was talking to someone the other day and she's like, man, I really got to get into the Private Money Club because I'm funding a small business. And, I think it could be really good. And I have a retirement account that I would think I would like to lend out on other people's deals, right? So you might find different things, but on this call here, we keep it real estate. We keep it real estate. If you're on this call and you're like, man, I got to learn how to find funding for my fix and flips, for my rental properties, for my Airbnbs, my short-term rentals, for, small multifamily deals, like this is the right call to be on. If you're on the call and you're like, I got to figure out how to put my money to work, and make a nice rate of return and have it secured by real estate that's worth much more, you're in the right place. Participation is encouraged. I'm about to ask you some questions, so make sure you get your thumbs and your fingers warmed up. If you're on your cell phones, make sure you got your thumbs ready to go, unless you're driving or something like that, right? 10 and 2, but otherwise be ready to participate. If you have any questions at all, you can post them in the chat. I might miss them though, right? So you can post questions. If it's like, hey, Nick, how do I enroll in the accelerator course? How do I become a premier member of Private Money Club? When's the next dates for this, that, or the other? That's a question you can post in the chat. And my friend Nick Lucas from the PMC team can answer those questions. If you have a question that's maybe a little bit more technical, it's about the private money side of the business, post it as a question, right? So there's a Q&A section here in Zoom, right, where you can ask a question, ask questions there. And I should answer questions halfway through and at the very end. This is an hour webinar. We'll be over at 2 o'clock unless we have a ton of questions, right? So we got our PMC team in the chat, and all experience levels are welcome. Is there anyone who's brand new to real estate or brand new to lending? Type it in the chat box. Type it in the chat box. Hey, Steve, what's up? Southwest Florida. I love it. Cape Coral High School, class of 2000, right here. My mom's down in Fort Myers. If you went to some art galleries down there on the beach and stuff, you'd probably see her. Kelly Morrison, tell her I said hello. I love it. All right, so Carrie's brand new, right? Julie says, we'll be brand new to lending. Kalix says new. All right, so we got lots of new people on the call, which is awesome. How many of you are experienced? How many of you are on here and you just love the idea of staying sharp, have that mentality of iron sharpens iron, and you're always looking to better yourself, right? William says, yeah, that's me. I'm right. Justin says, okay. All right. Justin says, I'm in PMC for a year, but I haven't done my first deal yet. All right. We got you, Justin. We got you. We need to get you some extra love. All right. So we got to figure out what your goals are, how much you want. Justin, are you a lender or are you a borrower? Are you a lender or a borrower? Kevin says, premier member, 3 deals so far. All right. Justin said lender. All right, cool. So you know what I love about that? It's fantastic that you're not rushing, right? And one of the things I always teach and always preach to my accelerator coaching students is don't become a motivated lender, right? Just because you've got your IBC policy set up, just because you got your everything ready to rock and roll, that doesn't mean you necessarily got to go out there and just work with the first person that you meet. We got to have conversations, got to interview people, build some relationships, and find a lender, find projects, find price points. They're going to be a good fit for you, right? So I love it. I see lots of cool stuff going on in the chat box too, which is awesome to see. I love. So one of the things that I've kept this slide up here the last couple of weeks, and I got it here again because it is important to really understand what we think of when we think of, from PMC private money club perspective. What is a private money lender? And this is good practice because, so I'll ask you, and you can type it in the chat box. What do you think of when you hear private lender? Because as you start having conversations, maybe with friends, family, coworkers, things like this, and when you talk about private lender, what's interesting is they might not associate themselves as being a private lender, right? Lots of people don't realize that they can be the bank, which is kind of cool, right? Rebecca says not the bank. Steve Baker says need a lot of money, right? So hard money. Francisco says loan sharks. I love Chris's answer. Christine Stokes just said an individual. Yeah. So keep this in mind. So as you start having conversations with people out there outside of Private Money Club, which is a great idea. By the way, let me ask you this question. How many of you know someone right now who would make a great private money lender, but they don't know it yet? Maybe they don't know that this exists, right? Okay, so Michael says, I do. Okay, cool. So Michael, one of the things that you might have, Joel says about 20. Troy says, my mom. Shop online. I do, me. Okay, cool. So one of the things that we have to help people realize that they can become a private lender. So in the context of Private Money Club and then the context of this webinar, when we talk about private lenders, that could be, it's a person. Anyone can be a private money lender, right? I'm a big believer that, and it's kind of a gift and a curse, guys. You go to the grocery store, you meet someone. In my mind, like my mind automatically goes, oh, this person could be a private money lender. I go and pick my kids up from school and I talk to the teacher and they're about to retire here. This is their last year. Oh, they would make a great private money lender, right? And now I don't know how much they have or how they're set up or anything like this. But what I do have is the belief that I help people. I'm a big believer in myself, my ability to be able to find good real estate deals and provide people with nice interest rates on their money, right? And I believe the rest will kind of shake itself out. And we're talking about this because if you went to Google right now and you Google private money lender, you're going to see millions of search results. And lots of times this is what's going to happen as well. Like if you're talking to someone that's an individual and you're like, oh, have you heard about private money lending? No, I didn't know. What is that? I didn't know I could. They might go home and Google private money lending, and you're going to see millions of results. And a lot of that is going to be funds, right? It's not necessarily going to be traditional banks, but it might be some sort of institution or fund, and then they're lending out the money. So in the context of private lenders, just know on this call here and moving forward, anyone can be a private. It's a person, right? Just like Christine said. So we just got to figure out how to have great conversations, how to get people intrigued, wanting to learn more, educate them. And again, this is relationship based lending at the bottom of it, right? At the core. Okay, so what are your goals? Roll call. How many of you on the call right now are borrowers? You're a real estate investor. You're aspiring real estate investor or experienced real estate investor, and you are looking to borrow funds. Type me in the chat box or type borrower in the chat box. Let's see what we got here. All right, cool. I love it. Borrower. Okay, cool. Now here's what's fun. If you're not in this world, it sometimes, and if you're not in the private money club, sometimes it's really hard for people to realize that there are so many folks out there who would love to make a double-digit rate of return and have it secured by real estate, aka also known as lenders, right? Is anybody like, where are these lenders? Who are these crazy people that you're talking about that give you money for your real estate deals? No, I get that all the time. It's like some people think private money lenders are like right up there with Bigfoot or like drones over in New Jersey. Like nobody knows what the hell's going on. Does it exist? Like it's a conspiracy theory. And it's really silly. And to share my point here, and Kevin's already got the jump on it. Where are my lenders at? Lenders, do you exist? If you are a lender or an aspiring lender, type it in the chat box. All right. So we got aspiring lender after I learn more. Julie. All right. I love it. Julie, are you in the accelerator program coming up? I thought I saw maybe your name. Maybe it's just from seeing. Okay, cool. Awesome. I can't wait to help you. Troy is aspiring lender. I love it. Aspiring lender. I love it. Cool. So here's people that realize, hey, you know what? There might be a better way. There might be a way where I can control where my money goes, pick the projects, have my funds secured by something and things like this, right? Steve said, replace my income. I love it. I love it. Vonda, lender. The list goes on and on. Nick, Nick, isn't it cool? Oh, and there's William putting them on a pedestal, right? Putting them on a pedestal. I love my lenders, right? I love it too. I love it. That's awesome. So we gotta, so they're out there, right? It's not as simple. I mean, if it was this simple, we would be over. We could, all I would have to do is say, okay, if you're a borrower, just look up all the lenders. And if you're a lender, just look up all the borrowers on Private Money Club and it's a done deal, right? Just go meet each other. It's not that simple. You still want to be able to have confidence in the questions that you're asking and feel good about what you're doing, right? Right. And that's where the education comes into play. So if you're just logging on for the first time and you're like, man, I'm not really sure what is Private Money Club. Noah keeps talking about Private Money Club. Private Money Club is a platform. Thank you, Nick. Right on cue. If you're new to this webinar, go ahead and click privatemoneyclub.com, right where Nick posted the link there, and you can check it out. It's a platform where borrowers and lenders can meet. I would, if I were you, I would go and create a profile while you're listening to me. Like, I think you guys can hop on, do this while you're listening to me. Also fill out a form. It doesn't take too long, takes like 30 seconds or less. I'm a big believer. So every single person on this call should be a premier or should be a member of Private Money Club, whether it's a free member. So they have a free members can do certain things within the club. They can create a profile. I think there's some messaging capabilities and deal posting capability that they might lack. But everyone on this call can create a free membership, right? So right now there's 84 people. So every single person should have a free membership if you're serious about this. And then if you're a premier member, type premier member in the chat box. Yeah, Kevin says, hey, my profile's there, premier member. So premier members, you'll have like, if you, that's my profile there. So if you see like the little orange envelope looking thing, that means that that person is a premier member. And then those little check boxes there are actually classes that I've taken, certifications in Private Money Club, and you can too. So there's some definitely some advantages of the premier membership. I know today I was looking at deals, and I'm just telling you how it is. I'm not saying one's bad, this, that, or the other, but I was looking at deals today that were posted in Private Money Club. And after I looked at the deal, the very first thing that I looked at was if the person was a premier member, just being honest, right? Because I want to see who's, you know, who's in it to win it, and number two, I would look at the person's profile and I would see how that profile is filled out. I saw someone in there posting a deal and asking for funding, but then they didn't even have a profile filled out. It just said, I live in Virginia or something like that. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, I would never want to work with that person because, or even message them because I don't know, is this a real person or not? Right. Is this like, a bot or something? I don't know. Is that what the kids call them these days? So it's good to fill out your profile. So I'm giving you some action steps here, right? So if you're on the call and you're serious about funding, borrowing or lending, get in the club. Anyone can join, and then kind of see if it's for you, take it next level, and you can join as a premier member. And the cost is nominal considering what you get. The relationships that I've had in Private Money Club, I'm forever grateful for. There's 3 lenders I work with regularly now that I met through Private Money Club that I did not know before. And I could see myself doing business with them for, I don't know, the next 10 years or however long we're buying and flipping houses, right? So go create your profile, right? Michael said, book the call for Friday. Yeah, that's good, man. Good. It's all about taking some action steps, right? So you can book a call too if you're like, well, I don't really know how to navigate or what to do, or how do I even like, what should I even be looking for, then I would do a blueprint call. So maybe Nick can put the link in there again, or you guys can scroll up and there's a link that says blueprint. And one of the team members can like walk you through how to use Private Money Club. Yeah, just like, thanks, Nick. Right. So this is called the Quick Start webinar. It's not called the kick the can down the road webinar. It's not called just listen to know and eat my bologna sandwich during lunch webinar. It's the Quick Start webinar, right? So we're all about taking action. So I thought I'd share with you today some ways of, taking action. And if you have a deal right now, does anybody have a deal that it needs funding like right now, and you haven't jumped into this yet? Maybe you haven't created your profile, or you haven't posted it yet, or you haven't shared it. Does anyone like have a deal, or maybe is actively making offers on properties for deals? Okay, cool. So thanks, Rebecca, for your participation. Pat says close. I love it. I love it. I love it. So when's the best time to find money, Pat? When's the best time to have your lender lined up for your next deal? Before, yeah, right. Before we need it. So I would make it a goal to have conversations, to build relationships, right? So like in real estate, you're like, okay, I know that in order to get one deal, I have to make 20 offers, right? Because I offer real low, and I got to make sure it's a good deal, right? So I got to make 20 offers before I have that one good deal. It's the same thing with lenders. I might say, okay, I know I got to have 10 conversations with people before I find that one person I could see myself working with. Does that make sense? Chris used to call Private Money Club like the dating site for lenders and borrowers, right? You go on dates, right? You go on dates, you meet people. You don't marry the first person that you talk to, right? So it's the same thing. So get on Private Money Club, start having conversations. Now, if you're like Pat, or who else had Rebecca, or Chris has a deal, right? I think she said now, right? William has some. Here's a couple things that are like, you got to do these. You got to do them, right? And this is how to leverage the platform. So number one, create the profile, right? Get pictures, fill it out, fill out the bio section, right? Make it good. The other thing there for premier members in Private Money Club, every single Monday, we do a webinar hosted by Stephen Nagy that's called Money Club Monday. And I believe you have to be a premier member in order to do this. You can present your opportunity to the community on a webinar, just like this. And so there's lots of people on the webinar, lots of people tune in. They also record it, edit it, make it real nice, put your phone number and everything in there for you. And then they put it on their YouTube channel. And then it sends out to all of the subscribers and everyone that's on the list for PMC. So you're in you have lots of people looking at your deals and looking at what you got going on. So number one, create the profile. Number two, present to the community. And then number three, we got to post it in the PMC platform. So you can post your deal, tell all about it, and things like this, right? So we got to have at least those three things going on. But I don't know anywhere else where you can get in front of people that want to lend money or have good deals like Private Money. I really don't. I've been a part of a lot of different like coaching programs and like groups and real estate clubs and things like this. I've never been a part of a group where the concentration of private money lender, like people who want to fund deals, exists like Private Money Club, right? So you are fishing in a pond full of people that are looking for what you got to offer, right? Which is pretty cool. So one of the things I thought we would talk about today, though, I'm Coach Noah here. I love coaching. I love educating. I probably educate more than I should sometimes. But one of the things that I really thought it would make a big difference and help people out a little bit is how to present. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about presenting and how to present deals and how to make the most of the platform. But I thought I would start with some slides, right? What's the framework for presenting to Private Money Club? Because how many of you have been on a Money Club Monday? How many of you have been on a Money Club Monday? Type Money Club Monday, type MCM in there, or just say me or whatever. Yeah, okay, cool. Several MC. Okay, cool. There we go. They're coming in. Now, have you ever seen someone present on Money Club Monday and they did a phenomenal job? Probably, right? Just type yes if you have. Have you ever seen someone you're like, wow, this was really good. This was well put together. Okay, cool. On the flip side of that, have you ever seen someone present and you're like, I don't know if this person was prepared, or I don't know if this person is really putting their best foot forward here, right? Okay, Rob says 100%, right? Troy says, yeah. Okay, cool. So the idea here, I'm going to give you some framework of how you can put your best foot forward. And whether this is something that you use for Private Money Club, Money Club Mondays, or whether this is something that you use in your everyday life and everyday business, it's a cool tool to do. So like, and you can use this in Money Club Mondays. I also use this framework when I'm explaining deals to my lenders. So one of the things that I do, I used to give this booklet, and we called it like the Private Money Lender Guide, something like that, right? And it had all the information about the deal, about us, and things like this. And over the last couple of years, I've slowly started to transition to just making videos, right? So I have everything in PDF, and I still have like the booklets and things like that I can email people to outline the deals. But I've been transitioning a lot to video. And I feel like the video allows me to explain the deal better. It allows me to articulate why we like the project and things like this. And then what I do is I send that video out to my private money lender list and or put it on my website. So I can say, hey, new deal, check out our website, and the video is right there. And if you're interested in funding, then there's follow-up instructions on how to raise your hand, kind of thing, right?
Your real estate business lives and dies by the network and the connections that you make. I mean, after all, your network, well, it's your net worth. That's what you always heard, right? If that's an area where you desire improvement, well, Private Money Club, it's for you. PMC saves you precious time and money by bringing the real estate world, well, right to you, right in the palm of your hand. So get in on the action, like so many others have, by going to privatemoneyclub.com and sign up.
So these slides are really important. And, the next accelerator class that we go through that starts, Nick, when does it? I think it's January 27th. This is going to be a big part of our next accelerator coaching training, is really how to present. I went back and I revamped all my slides and things like this just to kind of sprucing them up a little bit. But let's talk about these, right? So I got 11 key points that I try to hit in these slides. So your presentation might be more slides. It shouldn't be too less, because I think all of these things are important, but we want to hit these topics. Okay. And maybe on weeks to come, we can kind of, I can deep dive into it with you, but let's cover these like table of contents, kind of, if you will. And this has worked beautifully for me, right? So anything that I do, I'm not a real estate attorney. I'm not a real estate agent or a contractor. I'm a real estate investor. And so lots of the things that I share on these calls are just things that I'm doing that are working for me in my community and in my real estate deals. So maybe you can get some ideas, implement, maybe you just copy what I'm doing if you wanted to. That's okay, right? But I just share with you what I do. Is that good? All right. So the first slide, number one, we got to have a nice, sharp cover slide, right? So some key bullet points there. What's going to make someone put down their turkey sandwich and be like, all right, I want to listen to what this person has to say, right? What's going to make and if you have the opportunity, you're a premier member, you're doing Money Club Monday, and Steve, hey, Steven, can I present a deal? Yep. Steven says, yep. Okay. You're like, all right, I'll bring you up at 1:15 on the Zoom call in front of 100 people. Don't be in your car with like nothing, right? Don't be like, well, here's the deal and this and that. Like, get prepared, right? Get people excited to want to listen to what you got to say. And some people are, they like to listen. Some people like to see, right? So we all learn things differently, right? So I try to have a good combination of visuals, right? So if someone's more of a visual person, they can kind of see things. So anyways, have a nice cover slide, something that gets people's attention. And right out of the gate, like that's actually my cover slide right down there at the bottom. You can see it has our website there. I like to get my contact info out there right away because I know that on some of these calls, maybe people have to get off or maybe they're at work while they're listening. And so having your contact information or a way where someone can reach out to you, get a hold of you in the beginning is super important. Don't just wait to the end, right? And so have something eye-catching, make sure your info's on there. Definitely want to have a meet the teams slide, right? So who are you? Who's your team? Do you have a partner? What does that look like? One of the big things we talk about in the accelerator coaching program is how to find great contractors, the importance of having good real estate attorney, good real estate agent, good contractor, and surrounding yourself. Now, once you've done that work, if you have your contractors, you got your closing attorney, you got your title company, and you got your team in place, well, brag about them, right? So you should, let me back up a little bit here. What I've seen on a lot of private money club Monday calls and presentations, I do things a little bit different, is a lot of people will hop on and they'll immediately say, okay, we're doing 15%. We're doing 18%. This is an 18% interest that we're paying monthly and da 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 da. And they put so much emphasis on the interest rate that the lender is going to be getting and how much money that person's going to be making. And I don't know if there's anything wrong with that. Like that probably works for a lot of people. And of course, as lenders, we like to make nice returns. So you 15%, you got my attention. What I might suggest is saving the interest rate for later, because what I try to do when I'm presenting deals, I want to make this sexy, but not the interest rate. What I'm trying to make appealing is the safety, is the amount of equity in the deal, the experience of the team, the experience of my real estate agent, the experience of my contractor. If I have experience, my experience, if I'm brand new, that's okay. The experience of my real estate attorney, the experience, right? I'm selling safety. You see the difference there? And then once I build it up as, wow, this is a pretty good deal to lend on. Like there's equity in the deal. He's got a good team. He's got a good market, like really well thought out. I wonder what the interest is on this. Now you've built up your case where if you come in at like 10, 12%, or you could still do 15%, it's icing on the cake, right? So just something to think about. I do a little bit different. I don't know. Do you guys like that? Try it. It's just a little bit different, right? A little bit different. Market overview. So I like to share. I don't just jump into here's the project. I like to talk about the area, the city. Keep in mind when you're posting your deals in Private Money Club, not everyone is from where you live, right? So is there anyone on this call from Columbia, South Carolina? Maybe a couple friends of mine. I don't know. Are you on? Is anyone from Columbia, South Carolina? Probably not, right? So what do you know about Columbia, South Carolina? If I have Greenville, Spartanburg. So I might have friends or potential lenders that live in New York or New Jersey that are in Private Money Club, but they don't know anything about Columbia necessarily, right? So I'm going to give them an overview of why we picked that area, why we like it. And again, I'm building up the safety and building up the confidence. So make sure you're talking about the area where you're investing and why you could pick anywhere in the world to invest in real estate. Why did you pick the spot where you are, right? Sell it. And if you're like, man, I don't know if my area is pretty bad, you should go pick another city or state, right? Pick a different market. I don't know, make the move. And then I also like to share information about the deal. So how I found the deal, right? What I love about the project. I want some background on it, what you like, what you don't like about the project, right? So not just here's what we're buying it for, here's what the repair costs are, things like this. Tell me how you found it. Oh, this deal came to us from a real estate agent. Been in and out of contract and people couldn't close because it needed repair, whatever. Tell the story about it, right? Pictures for sure. We want to have pictures in there. This might take up 2 or 3 slides. The pictures are telling the story. what's going on. You don't have to get too overboard with the photos, but give your lenders an idea. And lenders, what you want to be looking for is, do the pictures match up with the repair budget? Do the pictures match up with the story, right? Comparable sales, whether it's a fix and flip property, rental property, it doesn't matter. We still want to see comparable sales, pending sales in that neighborhood to make sure that our loan amount is much less than what the value of the property is going to be, right? That's what we want. That's what makes this safer, right? Exit strategy. Let's talk about what you plan to do. We're going to fix this one up and we're going to fix and flip it. We're going to fix this up. We're going to rent it out, refinance, cash out our private money lender, things like this, right? What's the game plan here? Once we've built up comparable sales, the pictures about the deal, how we found it, the market, I talked about our team, how they're ready to go, then we can present the loan opportunity. That's how I do it, right? So I'm gonna say, okay, cool. And just to give you, I'll give you kind of a little tip here, and you can take some notes on this if you want. I see a lot of people all the time that they'll say, hey, here's the loan amount. And let's just say the loan amount's 200,000. But the problem is you might have someone on there that has more to put to work, and you might have people that are watching that have less. And so you don't want to necessarily, if you're looking for that one person that has exactly 200,000, you might be missing out on some good conversations with other folks. So it's good to cast a big net and let people know, hey, well, this is how I do. I'll say, I will help you put to work as much as 200,000, right? And so if someone's like, well, I've got the 170, I've got the 180, right? So I kind of figure out what numbers make sense. I don't want to over leverage. I want to make sure I have a good loan to value in there. So I can say, here's the max amount. And then anything left over, I'll just use my own money, right? So if someone came to me and said, no, I don't have 200, but I've got 165, I'll say, hey, you know what? Maybe that'll work. I can just use my own cash for the rest, or maybe have a second position lender or something like that, right? So I always say, hey, loan opportunity is a max of this amount, right? So anyways, we're not getting into the slides too much on this call, but just these are like the ones that I would want to see, right? Have it put together. I also want to make sure that I'm boasting about how we protect our lenders, right? Just like William said, I love my lenders, heart face, smiley face, right? We love our lenders. How do we show love to our lenders? We provide them with mortgages, right? We provide them with mortgages, promissory notes. We list them on the insurance as the lost payee. Maybe you get a lender's title insurance policy on top of it, right? That's how we show love for our lenders. So it's important that once you show the loan opportunity, here's how much, here's the interest rates that we're paying on this deal, and here's how we protect you, right? So make sure you got a slide in there talking about how you protect your lenders. All right. I also have and by the way, maybe on next week, I'll show you the one that I have, but I actually name my real estate attorney. So I say, here's the company that we work with. Here's the attorney that we work with. If you want them to help draft these documents for you, I can introduce you, and they're great to work with. We've worked them 100 times, right? So this is something I add to that collateral document slide. And then I also do a recap slide. So I'll make sure that at the end, because it's a lot of information coming at you sometimes pretty quick if you're listening to the opportunities. So at the end, I'll have a recap slide where I'll show, the loan amount, interest rate, what the ARV is, right? Things like this, next steps, and just kind of have a recap slide. And then last but not least is the call to action slide. So I want to make sure the last slide that's up there is my information. How do you want people to reach out to you? Do you want them to contact you via phone, email? Do you want to send them to your website? I like sending people to my website, because when they go to the website, there's a video there I have of what it looks like to work with us. I've got a lot of information on there that they can read about, things like this. So I like sending people to, what do you want the person to do to take action, right? And I would go above and beyond just saying, message me in Private Money Club. I would have an email or a phone number or something like that, right? Good stuff, great stuff. And here's what's cool. Once you have your presentation put together, then when you post your deal in Private Money Club, you can save it as an attachment in Private Money Club. So if someone wanted to go back and or look into the deal more, they can click on that link and it can pull up your slide deck, that maybe you save it as a PDF file or something like that, and they can read about your deal, which is really good. And if you're posting deals in Private Money Club, we should have some sort of attachments there where people can kind of do some more due diligence, find out a little bit more about your deal or what it looks like to work with you. Good stuff. Great stuff. Are there any presentation templates? Well, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. Accelerator students, if you do take the accelerator class, you get whatever I'm currently doing or working with, then I provide those templates. Also inside Private Money Club, I know they're rolling out with like perfect loan proposal. They're adding that to the site and things like, so keep an eye out for some extra tools and resources. But this exact PowerPoint slide that you see here, the start of it anyways, is something that I provide to the people that do take our course, the accelerator program. All right, cool stuff. Patrick says awesome stuff. All right, let me just see if you got any questions here. We've been cruising for a little bit. Let me see. One question. Let's see. I have rentals cash flowing 700 to 800 respectively. How can I pull money out of them using a private loan? So Perry, it's the same way. You got to remember, private money lenders are just like banks in the essence of it, in regards to paperwork, what they're going to want to see, things like this, right? They just don't have as many boxes that they have to check in order to be able to sell the loans. So like when you work with like a traditional lender, traditional bank, they're going to have all different kinds of stuff that they're going to want to see, verify. They're going to have certain criterias that need to be met. And if all those boxes aren't checked, they won't work with you because they like to go and sell the loans to somebody else, right? So in some private money lender, like the institutions and the funds, they have similar thought process in regards to that. But if you're working with a person, right, it's a little more, it's a little more flexible. It's a little bit more of a conversation. But the same documents that you would present, like verify rents, right, comparable sales, appraisals, you could get a lender could ask for an appraisal, or a real estate agent could provide them with really good comparable sales in recent months of the properties. And right, so now and then they're going to have the same paperwork, mortgage or deed of trust that secures their funds against the property, a promissory note outlining the terms of the loan. They're probably going to want to have insurance and things like this, right, on the property, right? So a lot of the same things that you did when you bought the property using a bank, the private money lender is going to want similar things. They just might not necessarily need the big down payment, or they might be more flexible in different things like pulling credit and things like this, right? So I would prepare just as if you're walking into a bank or working with a fund, a private lender fund, but now you're working with a person, right? So it's a little bit different. Cool. Is there a maximum interest rate you can charge in Florida? I'm not sure. The big thing about, and again, not an attorney, but this is a good question. And anytime that I'm working in a different state, I always talk to the real estate attorney, say, hey, listen, I use private money lenders to fund my real estate deals. I use people. Is there any limits and things like this that I need to be aware of? The common answer that I get, and I'm not giving you any advice, I'm just strictly saying from my past experiences, as long as these are commercial loans, investment purpose loans, and the people who are living in the properties, it's not like you're lending to someone and it's a primary residence, then if it's a primary residence that you're funding, then there's a lot of restrictions, a lot of paperwork, and a lot of things that you need to have knowledge around, right? If it's a business loan, investment property, things like this, then it's a different set of rules, right? Is how it's been explained to me. So it's really, really important, you guys, that you do talk to attorneys and things like this, people like this, and figure this stuff out before you get yourself into deals. And I definitely would not be lending on deals where you're funding someone's primary residence, because you could be breaking some of those interest rate laws, or I can't think of the word off the top of my head, like high mortgage. I can't think of the word right now. Maybe someone can help me. Yeah, usury laws, when it comes to real estate secured by a mortgage, right? A little different. But yeah, definitely verify, talk to your attorneys, make sure you guys are doing things the right way before you do any business in the state, especially if it's not a state that you live in, and figure that out. But from my experience talking to my real estate attorney here in South Carolina, I always have the same thing. Hey, what do you think about? He says, as long as commercial purposes, business purposes, secured using mortgage, I don't see any issues with 12, 14% or higher, right? So it's a little bit different. But if people are moving into your properties, I'll tell you a story. Friend of a friend, and this is why this is really important. If you go to any hard money lending company, by the way, or a private lender, like I use a company sometimes for my long-term debt called Lima One. I also use another company for my long-term rental debt called Visio Financial. And if you go to their websites and you look under the frequently asked questions, right? They're gonna make it very clear. Even if you start filling out an application, they're gonna make it very clear that they do not lend to people. They will lend to an entity, an LLC, S corp, something along those lines. They don't want to lend to a person, right? Because the moment that they lend to a person, let's say that person, and they're also going to ask you to check boxes and sign off that you're not going to be living in the property, right? Because they know if you're living in the property and they're lending to you and not your LLC, they could be violating some lending laws, right? So these are all good things you need to look into. The companies are Lima One. Yeah, I'll type it in the chat box. Yeah, these are good. These are good long-term rental. I don't know the website off the top of my head, but those are good, really good long-term debt. So like our house I just put under contract yesterday, we're buying it, renovating it, fixing it up, using private funding, and then we're going to work with one of those two companies to cash out our private money lender and then have it as a rental, right? So those are good ones there. But if you go to their websites and you look, you can see, okay, they don't allow, you have to have an LLC, you have to have an S corp in order to do business, right? And a lot of that has to do with the lending laws, right? So I hope that answered your question. But you definitely want to make sure, verify before you do any business that what you're thinking about doing is the right way to do it. All right. And I am definitely not an attorney, right? All right, cool. So any questions about the presentation slides here? Any questions? So for the people that were kind of struggling and things like that, I think a lot of them just didn't have something like this, right? They didn't have any framework and things like this, right? So hopefully this framework helps a little bit. If you guys want to learn more about presenting deals and just kind of being around this information a little bit more, let me back up here. I would highly recommend taking and joining our next accelerator class. So our next accelerator class starts January 27th. We do limit it to 20 people. Yeah, we do limit it to 20 people. Right now, I think we're at 17. So I just saw a list a few days ago. So there are a few spots left. If you are interested, you've been thinking about taking it, I can't think of a better time to take it than right now. You guys, it's January. Let's kick off the new year, right? And get enrolled in this. We have an orientation coming up on the 22nd. So how I do this, class starts the 27th, but we do have an orientation called the 22nd. And a big part of the orientation is just finding out what your goals are. Finding out, are you a lender? Are you a borrower? What are your goals for taking this class so that I can make sure I address these concerns and help you learn these topics that you're trying to learn. And from my experience, each class is a little bit different. It does seem like, I don't know, William, if you're still on here, you could probably put, oh, you want me to put up the last slide again? Hold on one sec. Let me see if I can put it. It seems like we have a lot of lenders as opposed to borrowers. I could be wrong on that. It seems like it's usually 50-50 or 60-40 lender to borrower. But what we do is on Mondays, we teach from the perspective of the borrower. And then on Wednesdays, we teach from the perspective of the lender. And I do recommend that everyone is on both calls. I think if you want to be a great borrower, it's really important to understand what the lender wants and needs and what's important to them so that you can go provide that. And if you are a lender, it's really important to understand what the borrower is looking at. For lots of people, and this, I don't want to turn this into like an underwriting class, but what I've discovered over the last year of teaching this is there's a lot of people who want to lend, but don't necessarily have real estate experience. So, and I wouldn't lend any money if I didn't know where it was going and whether or not it was a good deal or not. I mean, that's anything, right? So if you're thinking about funding a deal, but you're like, I just don't know what to look for, we're going to talk about that, right? So if you're on the call here today and you're a lender and you're like, man, I want to feel a little bit more confident about the deals I'm choosing, the people I'm working with, then this would be a super good class for you to take too, right? And if you're on the call and you're a borrower and you're like, man, I got to figure out how to do this the right way, you can never have enough lenders. You really can't. And I'll share with you exactly what I've done and how I've leveraged not just my community, friends, family, and people I've met in the real estate world, but also the Private Money Club platform to really meet some really cool people that not only became lenders, but also seem to becoming really good friends of ours as well. Yeah, lots and lots of opportunity to network. We log in. I tell everyone, hey, make sure you log in at least 15 minutes early to each class. So when you log, because think about this, everyone that's in the course is figuring out how to be a better borrower and how to be a better lender. So they're serious, right? Like on the call here, we might have 98 people, and maybe half are like, I really am going to do this year, like, or I currently am doing this, right? When we get into that class, it's like you're there with the borrowers, you're there with lenders, and you're meeting each other. You're finding about them, who they are, not just as as a lender or borrower, but like as a person, like what type of person they are, what their family's like. I mean, you're networking, right? You're hanging out. So I would log in beforehand as well. That's what William did. And that's why William got the most out of that class as possible, right? Yeah, cool. So orientation starts the 22nd. Don't miss the orientation. If you're thinking about doing this, go ahead and talk to Nick and sign up right now to secure your spot. You don't want to miss the orientation because getting to know people is a big part of being successful in this business. And if you allow me to get to know you a little bit, then I can keep an eye out for you. If I know that Tracy has $100,000 and this is kind of like what her buy box as far as a lender is concerned, and I know this person over here has a really good deal, and I feel confident. I'm not going to say, hey, yes, you should do this. But what I will say is, hey, maybe you guys should talk. Let me introduce you guys. Right. I'll never tell you green light. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But what I will do is say, hey, you two it might be worth having a conversation to get to know one another. Right. I posted this slide 2 weeks ago. I thought I'd share it one more time. Yeah. And Nick has the link there. Thanks, Nick. Yep. You can go there, click the link and schedule some time to get into that class. Right. Janique has a question. Do you have a list of attorneys, title companies, lenders? I don't have a list. Here's Janique. Are you a borrower or are you a lender? Are you a borrower or are you a lender? Do you have a list? She asked, do you have a list of attorneys or title companies per state? So kind of what I do is, and this is something that you're going to encounter, right? So if you're a real estate investor and you have a deal, but your lender's from Michigan and you're in South Carolina, the person in Michigan isn't going to know anyone in South Carolina. And I do recommend an attorney from the state where the property is and where the loan is going to be recorded is the one writing it, right? If you live out of state, maybe your attorney looks over things, right? Which would be probably a good idea. But I would have someone local drafting it so that it's, pertinent to in accordance with local and state laws, right? They know what they're doing. That's a big thing. So as a real estate investor, what I always do if I'm working with someone in a different city or state, like I have a lender in Hawaii, I'll say, hey, this is the company, the attorney that's handling our closing. They're doing the title search and everything right now on the property. I can introduce you to them. We picked them because we really like them. They're good people and they do good work. They can draft your mortgage for you and your promissory note for you. Would you like me to introduce you to them? And that's been the best way for us to find good people, right? Whether it's title company, a real estate attorney, or whatever, right? So just kind of, that's how I do it. And then I work with a company that I would call my real estate attorney if I was doing a deal in North Carolina or wherever. I'd say, hey, who do you recommend in North Carolina? And they usually can refer me to someone as well. So PMC doesn't necessarily have like a preferred attorney website, but if you talk to, that's why when we teach Accelerator, the very first thing that I talk about is finding a real estate attorney. The very first thing, right? You're only good as the team that's surrounding you, right? All right, so I had this idea here last week, posting, things to post in Private Money Club to help you stand out a little bit, right? So I left this up here, even though we talked about it 2 weeks ago. Number one, case studies. Do you have any case studies from 2024? What about interest that you've paid? Add up all the interest you've paid your lenders. What's that number? Go brag about that. What was your track record? Was it 100%? This 2024, 100% track record, $96,083 paid to our lender, whatever that looks like. Go brag about that. What classes did you take? What events did you take? What certifications did you get? Right? Brag about that. And then what are your goals for 2025? So here's some ideas and things like that that you can post on. Peter says the properties in Columbia I'm looking at are much less expensive than the properties in, yeah, they probably are. Our market's pretty low. One more slide I'm going to share here. One more slide. Every single, sometimes if we have time, we talk about elevator pitches, but this is a big one here. If you're lending money, we got to make sure promissory note, mortgage or deed of trust, personal guarantees, right? And insurance. Now, these aren't all the things that a person would want or should want, but these are conversation starters, right? So if I'm working with a lender, I'm gonna brag. Hey, we always give you a promissory note. We always give you a mortgage. We always give you a deed of trust. I do a personal guarantee, even though you're lending to my LLC. I personally guarantee it as well, and I list you on the insurance as the loss payee just to start. Those are some of the things that we do for our lenders. If I'm a lender, right, and I'm thinking about funding real estate deals, right, you got to have some collateral, right? So hey, I want the promissory note outlining the terms of the loan. I want the mortgage or a deed of trust, depending on what state you're in. I would like a personal guarantee, even though I'm lending to your LLC. And I also want to be listed on the insurance as a loss payee. Whenever I hear problems come up with private money loans not going exactly how they were supposed to, it usually there's all four of these items here are not in place, right? So I try to show this every single time I do this webinar to make sure to really drive it home that, hey, what makes private money lending great? Well, your loan is secured by real estate worth much more. If a person only has a promissory note, but they don't have a mortgage or a deed of trust, then it's not as ironclad as it could be or should be, right? So I hope this helps. Let's see if I got any questions here. But if you guys learned something on this call, was this a good way to start 2025? Oh yeah. All right, cool. I love it. So hopefully you've created your private money club profile. Hopefully you have scheduled time to talk with Nick and Jose, have a blueprint phone call to see how to get the most out of your membership and see if private money club is a good fit for you. Peter says the best call I have been on. That is fantastic, right? Now, he's only sending that message to me. It's not to everyone. So I don't know if you guys are going to believe me when I say that Peter Tomasello said that this is the best call that he's ever been on. But I could probably screenshot it and show you in the next week's Quickstart webinar. All right, cool. You guys are awesome. Happy investing. And if you need anything at all, feel free to post in Private Money Club, in the forum section, what you're looking for. But it's all about relationships. Don't focus on you need a lender. What you need is 20 good conversations to find that lender. All right, work it backwards. I think you'll have a little bit more success in trying to meet the right person. All right, cool. All right, everybody, signing off. Happy investing.